6 a.m. this morning before the sun even came up, looking out over the hill country and the lights. And I just thought how fantastic consciousness and being alive is. You can say what you want about life after death. You can say what you want about where we came from, where we're going. But, man, this is fantastic to be alive. And I know that Hollywood and Air Force One and red carpets is not the end-all, be-all. This life is a test. You know, I wanted to go to that caller about the exorcism story, and I said, please hold over. And I don't know what it is. When I say hold over, they never do, or rarely. But I was talking to someone who follows the Carl Jung system of psychology, Swiss psychology, which I think is the most accurate out there, of constructs to look into the human mind from a secular perspective. And this is a well-known psychologist, I'll just leave it at that, that quietly underground does exorcisms, even though they weren't religious until they began to investigate it all, but then did it. And even if people aren't Christian in their background, they only respond to the name Jesus Christ. And I actually know someone quite well who was involved in close to 100 exorcisms with this well-known psychologist / PhD. And the stuff they saw doing this, the person I know just couldn't even do it anymore. It was too intense with people that thought they were possessed. It's just amazing. And those aren't areas I really get into here on air. But you can call it mental illness, whatever you want, but where people just, their face changes and their whole demeanor changes and it's a different person. And it doesn't matter if what they're doing hurts them and hurts others and isn't even good for them to do. They will do it because it's destructive and it's bad. And I've talked to one of the best-known psychologists here in Austin, Texas, who I know is a listener, but I ended up meeting him through a separate issue. And they said after 40 years of doing what they do, at the bottom of the rabbit hole, they weren't religious, and they become religious. That's happened to so many genetic engineers and people. When they really start looking at stuff, they go, this has been made. This didn't just fall off a turnip truck. This didn't just appear in the middle of the desert or in the ocean. Obviously, ladies and gentlemen, everything we're being told is not the full story. And the entire Illuminati system is about the public not learning these secrets. And I know a lot more than I even get into on air because people just aren't ready for this information. People aren't ready to know that there's a long declassified history of adding sterilants and other horrible stuff to vaccines that, or yuppies go, well, there are too many people. And I'm like, but they're targeting your kids. It's like taking your kids up to the temple in Tyre 2,500 years ago and throwing them on a burning altar in front of Moloch. I mean, why? Well, the state said do it. Or 3,000 years ago, and what's Wales today? In central England, north of London. In the Welsh Hills. The priest would come around, the Druidic priest, and some years he might just want your cat or maybe your oxen for the summer solstice or winter solstice or whatever event it was, Samhain, Halloween. Sometimes they'd say, I want you. They'd take the man and put him in a wicker basket and burn him so the crops would grow the next year. Sometimes they said, I want your son or I want your daughter. And right in front of everybody, they'd let him get the little kid drunk, the little 6-year-old girl or boy. I guess they were nice to him. The Aztecs did that too. They got him drunk. And they'd lean him out there right over that peat bog. And they'd take that dagger and they'd slit that throat and just let that little kid's blood pour right into that bog to that god. Or sometimes they just club their head in right there. Or sometimes they take little kids bound and throw them into a big pit of coals to just swell up and pop and burst. And I know you don't want to hear that, but every culture did that. And it's the state, the religious state, demanding that children be killed to the God. I mean, look at the Bible. Abraham. God says, take your only son. Guess he had another brother as well, but you take that one, your heir, the one you really wanted, the one you had with your wife, not with your concubine. Take him up there and stab him in the heart. But then we talk about them kidnapping kids. They, oh, no, nobody's involved in that. And there's like tens of thousands of missing kids. They can't find them with the NSA. And I'll tell you why they can't find them. Because the NSA is not allowed to look into that. They're only allowed to watch what the Tea Party's doing. And, oh, look, Dinesh D'Souza, you know, he's in a divorce 2 years ago. And then magically the word comes down that he got some friends to donate money, and he gave him money to, so let's put him in jail. See, they go, well, it's the law. And they said, Mr. D'Souza, I was reading the court ruling yesterday, the transcript, while at red lights in traffic. I literally pulled it up and was reading it at red lights. And the judge, all appointed by Clinton, the prosecutor, appointed by Obama, said to D'Souza, how dare you do an interview? And they played the transcript. But it was only a transcript. I couldn't see the TV in the courtroom. They played him on Fox News, and they played him on this radio show, saying it was political. He's bargaining. He said, because of your speech, I'm going to put you in a re-education center, therapeutic therapy for mental illness for 10 months. Or is it 8 months? You got to pull up the transcript. I think it's 8, 9, or 10 months. You have to look it up. My memory fails for a moment. But the point is that he has to go to daily brainwashing about how he's mentally ill at an actual shrink medical center, therapeutic for his thought crime. And the judge sat there and said, how dare you say this was selective or political? We don't do that. 5 years probation. They pulled it up here. Yeah, but it's how many months to a, quote, community center? It's like a giant open-air prison. It'll say how many... yeah, it's 8. Okay. They had sought 16 months prison sentence, but it said it's 8 months in basically a locked-up halfway house, hellhole. I'd rather be in prison than one of those halfway houses where the criminals go in and out, and there's like weird criminals that run them, feeding on people and preying on them. I mean, what a nightmare. And all these nobodies that couldn't get jobs, that mess with you all day, and all these probation people. I mean, what a hellhole. But what's amazing is if you read the judge's ruling and statements, it's online. You can read the indictment and everything else. When I got home, I read that again. It's just fascinating tyranny. Because you spoke out, I'm going to go ahead and give you a sentence of 8 months, and I'm going to go ahead and give you 5 years probation and a $30,000 fine. I wouldn't have if you wouldn't have said this was political. I mean, they're politically saying, you talked about us, so we're going to punish you, but this isn't political. It's like taking a bottle of vodka and going, this isn't alcohol, and guzzling 15 shots of it. The judge indicts himself in the statement of just hubris and just arrogance. And they'll be like, well, Dinesh D'Souza gave, I kept saying 30, it was $20,000, $10,000 of it was legal, through donors. That's all Clinton and Obama and all of them do, is go out and get straw donors. It's on record. They say it's legal when they do it, not when somebody else does it. But let me tell you,